Hey folks, this is Matt once again with another review for Waza, who sent me two films. Hopefully this will be better than the layer cake, because that was just a rambling review, and I didn't remember everything 100%, and I do apologize for that, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. But next up is Ghostwatch. Now, Ghostwatch, I've heard of this film, but it was interesting to watch for one time because this is, well, it says right here, banned for a decade, the cult TV ghost mockumentary from BBC. One of the most controversial TV programs of a generation. I don't really agree with these reviews. Extraordinary, a thrilling ghost story, genius, superb. I don't really agree with that much of praise, but this was made in 1992, and it was a mockumentary, and this is before a lot of mockumentary, or even if you want to call it found footage, which this is more a mockumentary. Anytime I think of mockumentary, I always think of This Is Spinal Tap, like the comedy version. But of course you had that one, you had, I think one called Man Bites Dog, Cannibal Holocaust. I mean, you've had stuff that are either found footage or mockumentaries or fake documentary stuff like that. Well before Blair Witch Project. And really, this film made me think of two others. And those two, one is called Without Warning. And no, not the one from the 80s that has Martin Landau and Jack Palance, which is about an alien that comes to Earth to hunt people for sport. Yep, that plot was used before Predator. That's all it has in connection to Predator, but that kind of plot was used before Predator. No, Without Warning dealt with a UFO. It was all done in broadcasts, like TV broadcasts. Done much like this, where UFO spotted and worldwide what people's thoughts are. Is it good? Is it bad? Things like that. And definite crazy ending to it. And I can say I like that one more than this one. Made me think, especially at the ending. And then there's another one I believe called Special Bulletin. And I swear, I could be wrong, I swear the director of Glory and the Bruce Willis Denzel Washington film The Siege, Ed Zwick, I swear that guy directed Special Bulletin. This is about these terrorists have this bomb, I believe a nuclear bomb, and they're holding hostages. And again, it's all told with news cameramen and reporters and stuff like that. And I really liked both films. I thought both were interesting. I saw them well before this one. And I just say I like those more than this. But this one, it was a time waster. You know, it was nice seeing once. Let me read the back of this, because this pretty much says it. The BBC broadcast Ghostwatch on October 31st, 1992. It seemed to be a live broadcast which was a cross between Crime Watch and the movie Poltergeist. The program terrified Britain and caused outrage in the process. Or press, if I learn how to read. Its legacy lives on, cited as an inspiration for the Blair Witch Project and Darren Brown's The Seance. I have no idea what The Seance is. Ghostwatch is regarded as a classic of the genre and remains as relevant, as terrifying, and as inspirational today. I wouldn't go that far, at least to me. Sarah Green and Craig Charles report from a reputedly haunted North London council house for the outside broadcast, whilst Michael Parkinson and Mike Smith stay in the warmth and safety of a BBC studio. The Early family are allegedly being harassed by the ghost pipes, so named as his banging and crashing were initially attributed to bad plumbing. At a deliberately slow start, the crescendo sees children speaking in tongues, Sarah Green sent to her doom, and Michael Parkinson possessed by an evil spirit. Although pure fiction, the masterly combination of great scripting, intuitive direction, and perfect casting made the supernatural pastiche appear frighteningly real. Despite being part of BBC Drama's Screen 1 series, The presence of Michael Parkinson convinced thousands of people it was real. The drama caused an uproar and was banned from repeat transmission for over a decade. And to be honest, that story is more interesting than the movie, but if you're wondering, this is what the inside looks like, just in case. But after watching, this is a time waster. Pretty much what it is, it's either filmed in a studio or it's reporters on location, again, like a lot of mockumentary films, where it says in the back here, you have the early family. You have a mom and 2 daughters, and they hear noises at night, and they think it's, again, the mom thinks it's bad plumbing. They call it pipes. And you have this reporter, this woman right here, Sarah Green. She's there. The other guy, Craig Charles, I believe that's the character's name. That's this guy, who I like this guy. Yes, he's the black guy and he doesn't die. I always thought that because I think that's always nice to see that little difference. He's funny. He's not in it too much, though, unfortunately. He's not in it too much. But he jokes around outside. He's having fun with it. He's having a ball. I believe this is Michael Parkinson. He's the main guy back at the studio. This guy over here is Sarah Green's husband, who's at the studio, who's helping with the people in the studio, answering phone calls and what people are saying with phone calls. And also Michael Parkinson has this, I don't even want to say investigator, but this woman who is supposed to be an expert, who saw this family earlier, did tests with them, was there and is convinced that there's something there. That's this lady here, who talks with this guy, Michael Parkinson, in the studio. And then from time to time, it is a slow build. Like, most of the film is talking about the family history, talking about what they've been through, footage from before, which there's certain parts that maybe don't, For instance, like the first time you see footage of the children in bed, say this right here is the footage being shown, but then it pushes, say the footage is right here, and say I'm here and this is where the footage, then the footage pushes in so that now this part of the screen is right up here, and you see stuff from over here sort of flying, hidden them. So I'm like, why is it pressed here? Granted, it's to the girl. Why is it still framed? So you're seeing all this stuff. You see a sheet rise up and stuff being flown, but you see just a little bit of it because the screen's like right over here, pushed all the way in there. Or later on location, this girl goes, turn off all the lights because the cameraman also has predator vision, pretty much heat vision on his camera. But then, what's weird enough, all the lights are turned off, like pitch black, so you can use the heat vision. But then the girl's like, oh, let's see how far I can run, and people waving into the camera, and I'm thinking, how are you waving to the camera? How is this woman running if it's pitch fucking black? We just saw that all the lights were shut off outside. I mean, we don't see, there isn't we don't see, is there one piece of light so they can actually see the camera? It looks pitch black out when they're shutting all the lights off. But there are people waving to the camera and the woman is running near them. So, I mean, those little nitpicks, but I'm like, oh, okay. And pretty much they talk to the kids and they talk to the mom, and the mom talks to the studio. They get phone calls from people who've had their own experiences. This guy here, he actually tries to steer this girl, Sarah Green, and does so and says, all right, if there's any ghosts, keep them to yourself, and then he heads outside so he can live. And there's a moment later on where he talks to these women, and they give this story about what happened to this dog on this playground. And apparently throughout the film you get the idea this area, there's been a lot of crazy shit happening in the house. There's been a lot of crazy shit happening. Just from time to time you get people calling in, talking about the area or even the house that these people are in. Like there was a person there who was a molester and he should not have been there and he killed himself, and there was these cats. Or then there's all this other stuff happened. And it goes very slow. Mainly a lot of background information. You get a guy who's a skeptic from New York who denounces this lady, saying, no, I'm sorry. Pretty much saying she's full of shit, but you can't say that. And then you get to a point in the film where they hear noises and little bits and pieces. Then there's a moment where a camera sees that one of the girls is banging something. And then, of course, this guy thinks, oh, yeah, it's full of shit. He doesn't say full of shit. But, oh, this isn't real and this and that. And this girl's going, no, I was there. I was investigating this. Oh, come on, you were duped. And then pretty much the last 20-some minutes, shit's hitting the fan. More and more phone calls come in. They talk about how there's stuff happening at their place as they're watching it. Some phone calls come in and all their watches have stopped. Oh, this table, something happened to it, and my husband was hurt and has blood, and why are you guys doing this? Other people are saying that, you know, they're seeing this or this is happening. So it's almost like the people watching it, they're calling saying something's happening. And at the place that they're at, they hear these cats growling and screeching. And they hear pounding. Like there's this door to the basement, which this did make me laugh because they call it the glory hole. I'm like, I know a glory hole, and I don't know if that's a glory hole. The door is this big. It's pretty big for a glory hole. That's a King Kong's glory hole. But this isn't the glory hole they're talking about, but it just made me laugh every time they mention glory hole. I know. Dirty mind, dirty 30. Getting there, dirty 30. But King Kong's dick can place right here. Sorry, it's just a horrible image. Getting back to the movie, you find out that shit's hitting the fan. They lose the feed, then they get the feed again, and then the lady's going, wait a minute. That picture on the wall, that was down before. This isn't a live feed. We're being fed this, and you get the idea that maybe this ghost is infecting. And then there comes a point where she says, oh my god, we just unleashed, this is a big seance. This is maybe what it was, it's a big seance, and that's why, you know, it's like power is affecting a wider aspect. Which I like that idea. I thought that was an interesting idea. I didn't think that was going to happen. That it's using sort of this live feed that's as a seance. I'll use the word infecting. It's infecting other places. And one person gets hurt and they're rushed outside. The mom and daughter get out there, but then the other girl is missing. She's screaming. She's in that basement. She goes in. The door slams. And as the door slams shut, it cuts back to the studio where lights are exploding and people are leaving. And then it goes... This guy, he's still sitting there as all this shit's going on. Like bored out of his mind. It's like, yeah, it looks like... people are running around, and it looks like we're losing power, and hopefully alternate power will come back. Then it fades to black. Then it fades back out. And what happened to this girl? Yeah, she got maybe locked in the basement, but what happened? Did she die? Did she live? The other daughter that was down there, did she die? Did she live? Don't know. The other people in the studio, including this girl, I guess they left? Because the only person left in that studio now is this guy who's mumbling to himself. Then all of a sudden he's speaking tons, and all of a sudden it ends. I'm like, so it went and possessed this guy, I guess? And what happened to the other people? Did they just leave and he just stayed there for some reason? Are they dead? And we just didn't see it? The ending is like, huh? So, the thing with this film, first and foremost, if I saw this back in 1992 and I was overseas on the BBC, I never would have thought this was real. I'm not condemning people say, oh, you stupid. I never would have thought this was real. Maybe because I don't watch much of the BBC, so I don't know who the hell any of these people are. But I would never have thought this was real. I never would have. I'm sorry. I just never would have thought this was real. And there's really nothing in the film that's that controversial to me. I guess it was just that moment in time that people believed in it. And I'm like, it's October... I don't know. I never would have thought this was real. Even the story it tells, it doesn't really have much of a conclusion. Nothing's resolved. What happened to the other girl that's down there? What happened to this lady? Is she dead? Is she alive? What happened to all the other people in the studio? Did they just leave? Like, did this girl just leave? This guy, why is it that it possessed this guy? And not anyone else? I know I'm thinking too much into it, but that's what I do a lot. But it's a very, very slow, very, very, very slow build. And again, it was a time waster because I don't think the acting was that bad. I mean, everyone was decent in their roles. Except, I would say, I thought the guy who was the skeptic, who was from New York, that is talking with this girl, I thought that guy was a pretty horrible actor, in my opinion. He was not believable at all. The kids, some of their reactions were not really... I didn't really understand it. For example, people are talking about how this older daughter got scratches and kind of talking, but all of a sudden smiling because they're playing... I don't know if they're playing Sorry or some other board game. But sort of reactions... I'm like, shouldn't you guys be more scared or more jumpy instead of smiling playing this board game? Of course, then the question is, why don't they just move out? Move out of the damn house. There's always that question, too. And I would like to have seen more of this guy, which I think the guy is Craig Charles. I could be wrong, though. Yeah, I very much could be wrong. I would like to have seen much more of him. It just, the ending is kind of like, nothing's resolved and nothing is... You don't know what happened to majority of those people. The film was never that, oh my god, I could buy that this was real. Never entered my mind at all. A lot of times I do. I look at the tunnel and I look at the Blair Witch Project and I try to empty my mind and go, okay, what if I knew nothing about it? I do try to empty my mind. It's easy to do. So it was worth a watch one time because I had heard of this film before. I had heard of the little backstory behind it before because I had seen these ones like Special Bulletin, which that has a backstory as well, and Without Warning. It was interesting to watch once, to hear what the hype was about, but does it deserve that hype? No. I don't think it's really that great of a movie. I don't think it's that realistic. The actors, for the most of the actors do fine. If I want to call them actors. Again, these could be the real guys at the BBC. I don't know. I don't watch the BBC. I'm not from there. I don't watch the BBC at all. It was there. It was there, and then it was gone. And the ending was... And very, very slow start. It just got kind of boring. I know this comes from a guy like Blair Witch Project. I know, but I thought this did get kind of boring. So yeah. Hey, if you like mockumentaries and you've heard of this, and yeah, give it a watch. It just sort of like yeah. Like I've said before, I preferred Special Bulletin Without Warning. I thought those two were more interesting, and the ending was a little bit more understandable. Like you knew you had a good idea what happened. Here you didn't. Maybe that's the point, but it's like, okay, what the fuck? But yeah, that's Ghostwatch. Either way, I don't know what more I can say, but backstory was interesting though. It'd be nice to hear it would have been nice if there was a little featurette about that. Their thoughts on making it when it came out. That would have been a good documentary. I think that would have this I could see a featurette, a documentary on would be very interesting. Probably more interesting than the movie. But I would like to have seen it, but unfortunately there's nothing on there. But well. But either way, thanks for watching, take care, and stay tuned for another review. Later.